All right, what if you could literally install a new operating system on your mind? Not just any OS, but one that's been battle-tested and refined for over 1,400 years. Well, today we're going to dive into a super powerful set of mental models from a place you probably wouldn't expect.
I mean, really think about that for a second. We're always looking for the next big thing, right? The latest productivity hack, the newest book from some Silicon Valley guru. But what if the best tools for thinking clearly, for managing that inner chaos, and for dealing with, let's be honest, difficult people, what if they're not new at all?
What if they've been hidden in plain sight this whole time? It turns out there's this incredible curriculum buried in a series of verses from the Quran's Sura Fussilat. And this isn't about what to believe, it's a 1,400-year-old guide on how to think. It's an absolute game changer. So let's unpack it.
Okay, so where does this curriculum begin? Right where it has to. Inside. It's like you can't build a strong house on a shaky foundation, right? So before you can deal with the chaos of the outside world, you've got to get your own internal operating system running smoothly. That's what this first section is all about.
The very first lesson is all about integrity, and the source here points out something pretty profound. Most of us live in this gap. It's that feeling of cognitive dissonance, right? Where what you say, what you do, and who you think you are just don't line up. It creates this constant mental static. The goal? Total alignment, a perfect harmony between those three things. So you gotta ask yourself, are my words, my actions, and my identity all singing the same tune?
Next up is a concept that usually gets translated as patience, but that word doesn't even do it justice. The term is sabr, and it's way more active than just waiting. Think of it as a cognitive skill you actively build. It's like putting money in a mental bank account during the calm times, so you have this huge reserve to draw from when things get stressful and you need to think clearly. It's not a mood, it's a discipline. And that discipline leads to this really deep level of self-awareness, metacognition. You know that moment when a thought just pops into your head? An impulse, a flash of irritation. Our first instinct is to just run with it. But this curriculum says, whoa, hold on, pause, and ask a simple but powerful question. Where did that actually come from?
And this idea gives us a brilliant 4-step tool to actually manage those impulses. Step 1, the thought just shows up. Step 2, you pause and you recognize it for what it is, an intrusion. The text has a great word for this, nazga. It means like a sudden poke or a provocation. Step 3, you question it. Is this thought coming from my core values, or is it just a reaction to something outside of me? And finally, step 4, you consciously reorient your thinking to what really matters. See? You're not suppressing the thought, you're managing it.
Okay, so once you start getting that internal OS in check, the curriculum naturally moves outward. How do you take all this inner strength and apply it to the messy, complicated, and yeah, often difficult world out there? That's exactly what we're diving into in Section 2.
And this is where that operating system really starts to show its power. Think about our default setting. It's totally reactive, right? Someone's mean to us, we're mean back. It's this endless, predictable loop. But the Quran just shatters that cycle. It poses a really simple question. If good and evil aren't the same, why on earth would you use one to respond to the other? Instead, it introduces this idea of generative thinking. Repel the bad stuff with something better. You're not just reacting, you're creating a totally new, more positive reality.
So what about when you run into pure arrogance or rejection? The advice here is genius. Change your frame of reference. It's like if you're zoomed in on the person rejecting you, their ego feels massive. But what if you pull the camera way, way back? If you make your reference point something truly vast, something ultimate, all of a sudden, that person's arrogance looks tiny, almost insignificant. It's about taking control of your perspective before someone else's negativity does it for you. And here's a huge tool for when you feel like the world is ending. The text reminds us that whatever you're going through, it's not new, not even close. Every single struggle, every false accusation, it's all happened before to countless people. When you realize you're just the latest person in a long, long line of people who have faced the exact same thing and made it through, it's incredibly grounding. It's a powerful way to remember you're not alone.
No, this is really interesting. The text doesn't ask for blind faith at all. In fact, it does the opposite. It invites scrutiny. It practically dares you to try and find a flaw in its logic. The point it's making is that just dismissing something without even looking at it, that's not a neutral position. It's an intellectual failure. It's a choice to remain ignorant, and this curriculum says that's a bad move.
And that whole idea of genuine investigation is the perfect bridge to our third section. This part is all about equipping ourselves with a set of cognitive lenses, new ways of seeing the world that let us look past the surface and understand what's really going on.
So the verses talk about the sun and the moon as signs. Now here's the common mistake. We get so caught up in the sign itself, how beautiful it is, how powerful it is, that we forget it's pointing to something. Deep thinking is about not just being wowed by the sign, but asking, okay, this is amazing. What is it pointing to? What does this tell me about its creator? It's about reading the universe, not just looking at it.
Okay, get ready for a really elegant piece of reasoning by analogy. It starts with something incredibly simple, a fact we have all seen with our own eyes. Dead, dry earth being brought back to life by the rain. Everyone knows this. It's a universal, observable truth, and that's the anchor point.
And here comes the leap. That visible, everyday process becomes the mental model for understanding something invisible, resurrection. The logic is simple. If you can fully accept that a creator can bring dead earth back to life, something you see all the time, then you have a framework for understanding how that same creator can bring people back to life. It's a beautiful way of using the seen to grasp the unseen.
This brings us to one of the curriculum's signature moves. You might have heard it as begin with the end in mind. It presents this ultimate endpoint, a final reality, and then asks a devastatingly simple question. Who do you want to be when you get there? And that answer, that vision of your future self, is meant to become the anchor for every single thing you do right now. Your final destination dictates your current path.
So, we've gone from mastering our inner world to engaging with the outer world to seeing reality on a deeper level. And all of these tools, all of these lenses, they all point to one final core idea. This is really the ultimate takeaway of this whole mental OS.
Think about this. The exact same message can land as pure guidance and healing for one person, but for another, it's like they're deaf and blind to it. The message itself never changed. What changed was the receiver. It's our own internal state, our posture towards truth, that literally determines whether we're tuned into the right frequency to even receive it.
And that, right there, is the thread that ties everything together. That patience you build, that perspective you choose, that end goal you're working backwards from, all of it directly impacts the quality of your thoughts, which leads to the core conclusion: thinking isn't just some cold mental activity, it's a deeply spiritual practice.
So, in the end, we're all left with the one fundamental question this entire curriculum is asking us to consider. It's really a call for some honest self-reflection. What is your posture toward truth? Are you leaning in, genuinely open and ready to listen? Are you leaning back, creating a distance that makes it impossible to even hear the message in the first place?